4% increase on the backbone contract to Lake County Central Communications. So that'll add about $1,500. So I rounded it up to about 2,000. So it went from the total line items last year was 35,000. Next year it'll be 37,000. This includes several contracts. It's not just the one that's one of the contracts is about 26 or $27,000 of that amount, but there's a couple other smaller ones for other items. The next item, of course, big item is the fire rescue contract. That is also adjusted by the CPI, and it probably it's the October year-over-year CPI. So that will be most likely an increase of around 8.5%. So we'd be going from about $101,635 to $110,300 or so. Another item, payment to another political subdivision. That area is mostly Lake County Health Department fees. We pay those twice in the real estate settlements, and those have been going up it'll go up next year, I'm sure, again. So I increased that by about $1,100 from $7,500 to $8,600. That also includes court fees, which we haven't had much of. Park and playground, there was an item for water and sewage usage, which currently isn't being utilized, so I eliminated that. There was another small amount of money in park playground other contractual services. I eliminated that line item. That was like $100. Next year, we were looking at possibly doing some improvements to the playground. So I've allocated $15,000 in park and playground repairs and maintenance of buildings and lands. That's a $10,000 increase from last year. Land and land improvements. This year we had the fence at the village hall that's completed. So I've reduced that amount by $5,000 from $10,000 to $5,000. Some of the personnel expenditures were less than anticipated. Service has not been as costly. The service department has not been as costly as we thought. So I've reduced service general fund personnel services by $3,000 from $15,000 to $12,000. That's the same in storm sewer personal services. I reduced by $6,000 from $16,000 to $10,000. And we completed the American Legal update should be completed by the end of this year. So that was an expensive project. That line item has been reduced by $6,000 from $14,500 to $8,500, and that's console other contractual services. So that includes a few other things, but so it's like the copy machine. My salary will go up by 1.75%. That is a cost of living adjustment by the Ohio Revised Code 507.09. So that's $352 plus increases to PERS and Medicare. We have our biannual audit coming up for 2021. Unfortunately, there was only the state auditor bid that out to a third party auditor. And there was only one bidder. So we have no choice. They awarded the contract to Charles Harris, and that's going to cost about $10,792. They're permitted by the Ohio Revised Code to do it. Uniform accounting network fees, that's our accounting software. Those have been going up. So I've allocated an additional $600 to that area. So that went up from $2,400 to $3,000. Workers' compensation premium has been much lower than anticipated in the last couple of years. So that line item I reduced from $8,000 to $6,000, a reduction of $2,000. Next year, I did not plan for a hall capital transfer from the general fund or a transfer to the sanitary sewer debt fund. There's a pretty significant balance in the debt fund to pay for that loan for at least a couple of years. So it doesn't look like that's necessary. And this year we're looking at doing a hall capital transfer at the end of the year of about $20,000. So that is not included in the 2023 budget. And I'm going to go see if there's any other, it's not too many other changes in the special funds. The American Rescue Plan Act, most of that money should be spent by the end of this year, or at least encumbered. So I did not allocate any money in that fund, which is 2152. The capital funds for the service truck and the police car, I didn't allocate funding to for next year. I'm not sure when we are going to replace those, so I didn't include any funding, but that is something that if it's necessary, council could look at appropriating funds if need be. I did allocate $20,000 to the Village Hall Capital Fund for improvements and repairs. And that is about all as far as the changes go. I don't know if you had any specific questions.
Are we still planning to move funds at the end of this year?
There, yeah, you'll see a resolution for the first reading of transfers to the service truck capital, police car capital fund, and then also the Village Hall capital fund. So that would be on first reading.
The police car replacement.
I'm not sure on the year that we were looking at to replace those.
Because I've been I'm in the Ohio law directors, whatever it is, and the lead time on cruisers exceeds a year. And in fact, a couple of communities had their orders that had been pending for 8 months canceled through a dealership, and they're actually looking to go back after the dealership. But we probably should have some idea, because we're going to probably have to start that process in order to make sure that we meet the time frame.
We have the same situation with the service truck. As you know, if we order one now, it's going to take at least a year by the time they get it. And again, they're saying the chip and everything else. Well, I was talking to Bob Smith, and he was concerned about our truck. And I said, look, we're going to get one more year out of our truck. No matter what happens, we have no choice, but we are putting money away for a new one. But the reality is that they have all these trucks that they made though. They need chips, and they're still making new ones all the time. They're going to have too many trucks. Pretty soon it's going to be take your pick. So I say we just be patient. We don't need anything right now. Our cars are good. We're getting new tires on them. We're getting it all straightened out. Bob's taking care of us, as far as RTS, the maintenance on them, and we're keeping them up with all the maintenance and everything. So, right now we're good, I think, for a couple of years. So at least, like I said, but we'll still save the money so that when it does become available, we can buy one then. And again, because right now they're going to charge a premium too. And I can't see paying over waiting, and then we have to wait for one, and then they might cancel. Because what are they going to do with all these? Eventually, they're going to need something. So
What's the new with the police cars? We have 2 working order cruisers, correct?
yes.
Is one of them on the fritz?
Well, no, just one's approaching 100,000 miles. It's,
You're always
at this point, it already replaced the motor on it. They do a lot of idle time. I mean, they take a beating, just really running around slow. They need maintenance. One of them needs shocks real bad. Ball joints go bad on them, just everything wears out.
So if we move money over, is that to cover maintenance expenses too? Or is that solely for a new police cruiser?
That's solely for the purchase of a new car.
It's capital, so by being capital, it's a new. So where do we get the money? Is that
That's already budgeted for, to an extent.
Which we should probably increase that a little bit because they are older. And since we don't have a loan anymore, because we're, when I first took over the first year, it was $6,500 a year. We were paying on a lease for that, for the Explorer. So, we're not paying that now, so we can have some of that money should go toward maintenance and repair, but we're taking some of that money though, putting it toward a new one. So that's why we're appropriating that money, because we're saving that 6,500. Plus, we want to put more, obviously, because we need more to, to buy a new one. So.
Yeah, I was just trying to get a feel for which one's more urgent, right? At this point, like you said, it's so long to get vehicles.
Well, one's newer than the other. The SUV is newer than the,
And the service truck's probably in most need. The new one, right? 'Cause you could just
Pretty
move
much,
40
yeah.
to the service truck and then wait next year and move to the police cruiser if you have to wait a year. Have a
Well, we need
couple years
both.
to go out.
we need both. So, if we can appropriate the money for both, let's do it for both.
It's just gonna take longer on both, right?
Yeah.
You could get one sooner than the other if you
True.
wait to appropriate.
But if we need to, we can always reappropriate if we needed to get something
Right,
urgency,
okay.
in the case of emergency, I guess, too.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
Thinking out loud on it.
okay. All right.
Is there any other
Oh,
items or questions?
What do we have left? What is left from the CARES Act money?
There is, I could look that up right now. Just give me a
So
second.
we allocated for the heating and air conditioning.
I'll try to figure out how much should be left after we, if we do, the HVAC project.
After the HVAC, you're saying?
Yeah, let me just
Okay.
take a sec.
And we have till 2023 to spend it all?
I think some of it can be spent up till 24.
We're having a committee meeting. You're welcome to stay, but the stuff for the council meeting is over there if you want to grab some of the agenda and stuff. Okay.
So right now we have a balance in the American Relief Plan Fund. That's the actual name of it. And that's Fund 2152. So we have $59,149. And so we are planning to spend at least, it's almost $38,000 to replace the HVAC and then do the improvements to the ventilation. So that'll bring us down to about 21,000. I think I think some of it can be spent as late as 2024.
That's my understanding, depending on which one we're talking about.
Right,
Prior one should be done already.
right. This is
This is the second.
this is a second, yeah.
Anything else, John?
No, I don't have anything.
anyone else have any other questions for finance? Okay. This
Nice
will-
work.
Thanks.
Thank you, yes. Very thorough. Do I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Make a motion.
Dr. Sharma makes a motion.
Okay. Mr. Joyce, Dr. Sharma, Mrs. Hardwick, Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson, Mr. Conrad.
Thank you.
You got 3 minutes.
Okay, 3-minute recess.
Check the score.
Alan, what's the score?
5-1. 5-1.
Five
Never
to
mind.
one.
Not today.
They actually had 4 hits, but they had 2 home runs.
Oh,
The first inning, Stan,
John
walked the
Carver.
person, hit a batter, and then the guy hit a home run. So that was 3-0 in the first inning. Then I got, who's the guy that hit all the home runs?
Judge.
Judge. He hit a solo in the second. So it's 4-0 as a guy.
Come on, Ian.
I don't need to see it. I try not to watch it because it drives me crazy if I watch it.
Yeah, no.
Wait a minute, yeah. Oh, no, wait one more minute till we start. Oh, we don't set up. Sorry. I thought you
Yes.
were.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, 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 you have to start. Decide who you are.
Yeah, nobody knows why. I better say this.
Please do.
We don't know who to come after.
We want to make sure we spell your name right.
Yeah, so well, yeah.
Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the prayer. Grant us, O Lord, light in to our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision, neither by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authority vested in us, for thou art the source of all authority, and may we use it in our directives for the common good, for thy honor and glory. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, call to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce, Dr. Sharma,
Present.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Present.
Mrs. Mara, Mr. Conrad, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. Okay, move on to public comment. So please stand up, turn the mic on, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Approve any of the stop signs except for the ones at the 5 points. They never had a thing. Talked to, and they asked CTS. I'm sure that they would do a report because it's an official at those stop Another resident had said there had to be
Next, please. Thank you.
Feel so short. Good evening. My name is Krista Bear. I'm the president of the Willoughby East Lake Board of Education, and I'm here as representative of the board this evening. A few weeks ago, the board came together and decided that we knew that we wanted to get out and into all 7 municipalities that we provide services to and find and build bridges with the members of council, as well as any other members within the communities that help us better understand what are the needs and the wants of the unique communities. One of the things that we as a board will be taking under our belt soon is a superintendent search. We currently have an interim superintendent and an interim assistant superintendent. So at the turn of the year, we're going to be starting a very big search for an important member of our community. And we want to ensure that in that search that we have representation from each of the 7 municipalities. So I'm here this evening to ask for your help. We know that you have the pulse of your community. You know what the needs and wants are. And more importantly, you know individuals in the community who might be able to join a committee to work with us to then potentially enrich and ensure that the search is fruitful and provides us with a candidate that is going to serve all of the communities. So with that, I ask for your help this evening. Ms. Mara, you had come to a council meeting recently. Sorry, I'm really tired. A council meeting recently. And the wonderful thing is that you had brought up many things that residents in your community had brought to you. And for us as a school board to have that insight and knowledge allows us to make better and more informed decisions. And that's what I'm here to seek. So I would love to reach out. Mayor Morley, Mayor Regovich, and Mayor Fiala are going to get together with myself and Mr. Chuck Murphy, who's our current interim superintendent, to kind of sit down with the mayors of each city and start almost discovery. What can we do? What should we do? What direction could we go to kind of get some ideas, suggestions, and recommendations on how to form that committee with constituents from your city. And then from there, the board will work to not only include constituents from the city, but also from area businesses, the educators, and parents that also receive services from the district. So we would like to start this search after the new year. So we know that we're going to probably need the majority of November and December to get our feet under ourselves so we can hit the ground running, working with appropriate consultation firms to start the search. But first, we have to understand what are the criteria that we're looking for so that we can, right from the beginning, identify a search firm that not only is cost effective, but really is targeting the characteristics, traits, and skills that we deem to be the best for that position. So that's why I'm here this evening. I appreciate your time and I look forward to reaching out to you, Mayor Mara, and meeting hopefully in the near future.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. Reading and disposition of the minutes. Regular council meeting minutes of September 20th, 2022. Do I have a motion for, first of all, any comments or corrections on those, please? Okay, do I have a motion to approve them, please? Mr. Joyce makes a motion.
Second.
Dr. Sharman seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce, Dr. Sharma, Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara.
Thank you. Next, moving on to legislation, resolution number 2022-37. Second reading, a resolution authorizing the fiscal officer to revise the effective date of ordinance 2018-7 regarding municipal income tax for the village of Timberlake, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, next is resolution number 2022-41. Resolution amending the permanent appropriation funds for the Village of Timberlake, Ohio for the year 2022 and declare an emergency. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules, please? Mr. Joyce makes a motion. Mrs. Mara seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce, Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Mr. Conrad,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2022-41, please?
Make a motion?
Mrs. Mara makes a motion. Mr. Joyce seconds. Discussion? No discussion heard. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce, Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara, Mr. Conrad, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. Next resolution 2022-42, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into contract with Anderson Heating and Cooling for the purpose of replacing HVAC units, updating ventilation, and installing air purifiers for the Village of Timberlake and declare an emergency. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules, please?
I'll make a motion.
Nancy Mara makes a motion. Mr. Joyce seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce, Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Conrad.
Thank you. And do I have a motion to approve resolution 2022-42, please?
Could I ask a question? You passed out a. Is it
Yeah.
appropriate to?
After we get the first and second, then it'll be open for discussion.
All right, I'll move.
Mr. Joyce makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Thompson seconds. Okay, discussion?
Okay, so this is a new
Yes.
or an updated,
All right.
what has changed?
All right, correct. What has changed is, well, the price came down, but it went with basically the 80% efficiency units. Because of the location of our two units, of all the units being behind the wall here, and there's no way for the condensation to vent out because we need floor drains and so forth. And, we'd have to do some plumbing for that. And plus also venting it through the roof would cause problems. We were just going to go with the same we have now, 80% efficiency, but two-stage, which would give us more efficiency. And then because the units being up in the attic on the front unit, that also the same situation. They're recommending installing in the attics 80%. And again, this way we get the most use out of it. Less electronics, less to go wrong. It makes more sense because again, it's not in a perfect environment. So that's a difference. So basically with that, and again, those will be a two-stage. And then with the AC, we went to 16 SEER, which is a higher efficiency, is that we want the higher efficiency because of the electricity use. So that will benefit there. And the heat really, our heating bills aren't too bad here. The building doesn't, we keep it at a low heat anyway. And whenever there is an event, we're not running the heat at all. So the heat's not an issue. And then in the front, compared to what we have running now, it's going to be, we'll have half the electricity or the gas bill that we have now because it's going to be, a more efficient unit. It's going to be installed correctly. The major problem we were having there was I'm looking at mainly the installer who will be able to install these units the most correctly and fix the mess we have basically in the front unit. There's only 4 registers on 120,000 BTU furnace, which is way overkill and no AC. So to get everything balanced and get it right, we needed a contractor that can do it right. So this is why we went with them. And then again, we wanted to go with the best unit. So Carrier being a good brand unit, they're up there. They're rated number 2. Train is number 1, but then again, they're a lot more money. So it's just a matter of where we want to be with it. So.
Did they give you an estimate of how long it's gonna take to get the whole job done?
Probably about a week once they start.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it won't take them long to get it done. As far as, well, in this, yeah, about a week. So they have a crew to get it on it, so.
Because we'll have to coordinate with the hall
With the police
rental.
department, hall rentals, absolutely. We're gonna do them all separate anyway, so.
There is a notation down here at the bottom of the 2-day job. I would imagine that that's from the time that they actually start the job.
And finish, right, while they're, yes, so.
And just as a reminder, we previously approved the
Yes.
American Recovery Funds for this, as Mr. Roskis mentioned. So
And the timing is perfect because these units here, we turned them on and they're still working, they're fine, they're heating up the building. But I went to turn on the upstairs unit there in the attic and today would not work, so there's an issue. I think a bird might have built a nest inside the exhaust, I don't know, but either way, there's an issue. And again, so we need replacement on all these units.
Oddly enough, I just had Anderson come out and put the bird's nest out of my.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Just
So,
this week.
So they moved out of there and came here.
Yeah, apparently.
thanks.
Bird.
Any other questions or? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Conrad.
Okay, thank you. Next, resolution 2022-43, a resolution authorizing the mayor and fiscal officer to negotiate and execute an agreement with City of Eastlake to provide salt for the 2022-23 winter season and declare an emergency. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules, please?
I make a motion.
Dr. Sharma makes a motion.
Second.
Mrs. Mara seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Conrad.
Thank you. I have a motion approving resolution 2022-43, please.
Make a motion.
Mrs. Mara makes a motion.
I will second.
Mr. Joyce seconds. Discussion.
Still have yet to get the price from them, right? We're waiting on it.
Right, we don't have a price.
Still waiting, okay.
And it's usually the municipal price, whatever they get it at. And again, they have buying power because they buy so
Then
much.
do we store it here or we-
Oh, no. We just pick it up from them. They actually load it for us and everything.
right here at 91?
Right here, across the street. Yeah, someday if you want, I can take you for a ride. You can show you how to plow, just in case you could be a backup.
there you go.
Alan does all the time. He's our number one main guy at nighttime, so. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce, Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Conrad.
Thank you. Next resolution 2022-44. First reading a resolution approving the permanent appropriation funds for the village of Timberlake, Ohio for the year 2023 and declaring an emergency. Any discussion? A resolution 2022-45. First reading, a resolution authorizing the fiscal officer to transfer $60,000 from the general fund 1,000 as follows: $20,000 to the police cruiser fund 4901, $20,000 to the service truck capital fund 4902, and $20,000 to the village hall capital fund 4903 for the current fiscal year 2022 and declaring an emergency. Next resolution 2022-46. First reading, a resolution authorizing the fiscal officer to transfer $44,620 from the general fund 1,000 to the paving improvement OPWC debt service fund 3902 for the fiscal year 2023 and declaring an emergency. Next is resolution 2022-47. Resolution confirming the final appointment of Frederick C. Swanson to the Village of Timberlake Police Department and declaring an emergency. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules, please?
I make a motion.
Mrs. Mara makes a motion.
I'll second.
Mrs. Hardwick seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce, Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Conrad.
Thank you. Do I have a motion approving resolution 2022-47, please?
Make a motion.
Mrs. Mara makes a motion. Dr. Sharma seconds. Discussion? No discussion heard. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson, Mr. Conrad.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're done with the legislation. Moving on to reports. First is mayor's report. I'd just like to make motion or make a note to all the residents that, right now we're entering into political season. All political signs, people are allowed to put political signs on their tree lawn or on their lawns, but they cannot be within the right of way. And the right of way is 15 feet off the edge of the road. So we're making sure that the residents just keep it 15 feet off the road. And again, they can put the signs on their property, no problem during the election. I believe they have to take them down the day after, or what is the exact?
Based upon the Ohio Supreme Court, they could
leave them up year round if they want, but it would be better for the community if they were to take it down the day after.
Yeah, so just to keep it nice and clean. So yes, I just ask that people comply with that. Just want to commend our service department men, Steve Prosco, Jim Summers, and Brent Gardner. They've been doing a phenomenal job of cleaning up the village after all the windstorms we've been having with the sticks and brush and so forth. So we've been keeping up on that, and keeping up on the mowing, and now we have the problem with the leaves. That's one thing I'm going to ask everyone, with the leaves coming out now, if everyone can keep their drains, their catch basins in front of their homes clear from the leaves. You know, we go around, we have our service department constantly going around, we're going to be cleaning them up, but then again, we can clean them out and an hour later, they can be all back again. So we just want to keep that going. We are going around to some of the sewers now. We're snaking them out when we're getting complaints, and we know certain areas where it drains slow. So we've been trying to open those up and keeping those open and so forth. Even though our sewers are severely undersized, as long as we can keep it open and flowing, at least it'll keep it drained and keep the, the puddles from accumulating. Now that we're running into fall and winter season, I want to ask all the residents to try to stay off the medians and all the grass areas, the islands and so forth. If there's someone blocking the road or something, be patient, wait for the mail truck, wait for the garbage truck, or wait for someone before you try to go around the median, because it's just going to make a real deep rut now this time of year. The ground's going to get real soft. And again, it's going to put a burden on our service guys. We have to clean that up. And then again, for mowing and so forth. And so we want to just make it, like I said, try to keep people off the medians if we can. Other thing, as far as I want to answer one of the questions on the stop signs. Again, as safety director, we follow the state of Ohio regulations for traffic. And again, stop signs are required at all intersections. These little triangles that we have are dangerous areas. There are a couple of residents that basically have their bushes and so forth in the right of way, right up to the road and at these triangles. And if there wasn't a stop sign there, because it's an obstructed view, there could be an accident. So again, I believe I've driven, because I drive the neighborhood many times in the last 5 years, every day almost. And like I said, where the stop signs are, I believe, it's for the benefit of the village. It's for the safety of the village. I mean, they are very, very necessary. And again, I would never recommend a safety director taking one stop sign out. Okay. Again, they're there. I don't know about the procedure as far as who puts them up, voting on or not. I just know that we're following the traffic standard of Ohio. I discussed this with our chief of police. And again, they're the ones that patrol the neighborhood. They're the ones that for the safety of the village, for the residents, and they're the ones that have to make sure that there are no accidents. And again, people complain, well, why do we have them up? People go through them. Well, if there's a police cruiser and they see someone going through the road, through a stop sign, they pull them over and they stop them. Okay. And again, people aren't supposed to be going through the stop signs. And if they are, like I said, if we catch them, we're going to ticket them. If they don't, again, if we don't see them, we can't ticket them. People say all the time, well, I see people going through. Well, we have to see it. But then again, it's a safety issue, and again, we have a lot of dog walkers, a lot of people walking in the village, and
Dog walkers really want
and
That's when we proceeded with, and we did have a survey done.
we had a lot of surveys done. And again, where they were put, at the 6 points we
Long
needed
time
it.
ago.
That was an issue because of you had to turn more than 90 degrees to look at the oncoming traffic coming the other way. And at this curve here, there's a curve here. And when people come up East Shore to Minnewawa, there's a blind spot there. And if someone's coming around, they can't be seen. So anyway, that's all I have on that. And move on to solicitor's report.
Yeah, I just have one brief thing. I had mentioned before that we were consolidating. I go to Willoughby Muni Court for several communities, and Timberlake's cases were typically held on Tuesdays. I've officially gotten approval from the judge and the court administrator to move those with other cases that I have on Wednesdays. It makes it a little bit more convenient to not have to be there 2 days in a row. And in fact, for other communities, I'm already in Painesville Municipal Court on Tuesdays. So just as an FYI, cases will be predominantly on Wednesdays unless otherwise ordered by the court. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Mr. O'Leary. Council members, Ms. Hardwick?
I just wanted to say, as far as the hall goes, I'm getting kind of excited about redecorating, if you want to call it such. Floors, new tables, and the different things that we're gonna do to spice it up and dress it up and clean it up a little bit. These floors are bad, and we're gonna get it going. I want to, I'd like to see everything done for the beginning of the real rental season next year, so people notice the improvements.
Oh, we're gonna have to look. We have a couple, another leak that in our kitchen.
Yeah, I walked in there and got doink.
So we'll have to look at that, but yeah.
Ceiling?
It's in the
From the
kitchen and the
roof.
ceiling.
Ceiling.
Yeah, so it's roof leak, obviously. I don't know if it's rain blowing in that direction. We have a lot of wind and rain, so it's a new fresh leak that I've never seen before, but
Oh, the ladder, if you want to go get up and check it.
yeah, thanks.
Just get another bucket, that's all.
It's supposed to be 65 on Friday. We'll wait till then. How's
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Then we'll go check it
I'm
out.
scared of heights. I ain't getting up there. I'll hold the ladder up.
that's all,
Okay,
that's
that's
all.
it. Okay, thank you. Okay. Mr. Conrad?
Yeah, we had one resident reach out pertaining to sewers. It was something we were already aware of, but just for the rest of council and the rest of the community's awareness, it was about a backup drain in the garage. And he was basically asking if it's something we do. We had heard that we clean up from the street level, which we will do. But long story short, I let them know that it's not our responsibility and kind of what the fix should be, the sound fix from the sewer perspective, and hopefully alleviate his drain backing up, and send him a list of East Lake certified contractors, because they do a good job of keeping a purveyed list of contractors. So I sent him that, so he had it, 'cause he wasn't sure what contractors to use. So instead of putting my own 2 cents in, I just went to our friendly neighbors East Lake and shared that contractor list. We obviously don't maintain those lists or keep a list like that. And he seemed happy with that response, at least thus far. For that, I got no reply. So as far as I can tell, he was happy and taken care of. I know it's the old sewer problem, right? They're undersized and get some work to do on those that we're trying to move funds around and think of a plan of how to best attack that. It's a work in progress. We have had quite a bit of unusual weather this year. Lots of rain, lots of hail, lots of wind. So all those are uphill battles for the sewers. But in all honesty, I think they've handled it fairly well. Staying on top of the maintenance that we can, with the resources, budgets we have, and that helps. Cross our fingers and send a little prayer to hope that they keep maintaining it, so we can save up some money and do big repairs or the big fixes when we do it. Other than that, I think the sidewalk thing is peculiar. I think it might be worth checking if that did go through the normal approval process, because it would shock me to see that it didn't. I don't know if we could pull that out in minutes or whatever, but I mean, I drive the village too, right? It's my only way back here. And I don't think there's too many stop signs. Sure, it's a little bit of an inconvenience, but it's a heck of a lot better than, like you said, dog walker. Update the playground, we're gonna walk with kids, right? Hopefully there's more kids walking the streets, and you don't want to see anything happen there. So is there a lot of stop signs? That sometimes, yeah, like if you're going all the way through the village like I do when I purvey the sewers, yeah, it's a pain in the butt when you're doing something like that. In a normal route out, you're only gonna hit 3 stop signs, depending on where you're coming from. So I don't think it's any different than any other. If you drive up any one of these streets in Willow, like you're gonna hit a stop sign at every cross street. Same there. It is different here because of the way the roads are shaped. Square blocks like normal cities. It's kind of a figure 8, so you get extra stop signs at each point. That's just my 2 cents on it. But if there is too many and there's no need for 1 or 2 of them, then it's something to look at. But other than that, I think that thing about the safety of the walk is more than needed. There might be something. So, that's all I got.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Joyce?
I would like to thank our fiscal officer for preparing the financial budget. Made my life on the finance committee quite easy. In fact, I didn't have to do anything and read it.
Did you check them over?
I looked at it and the stuff adds up, so it's.
That's it. There you go. You did your job. Thank
So
you.
I want to thank John for that. I will be a better help to you next year because I'll be more familiar with the process. And I know you offered to have me come and meet with you and sit and go through it. I didn't, and seeing the final work product, I really didn't think that was necessary. So
Thank you.
Thank you again. With regard, unfortunately, Mr. Patterson has left the meeting, but I would also like to comment with regard to the stop signs. You know, 2 doors down, 3 doors down from me, there is a family that has a disabled child who rides around on a wheelchair. You know, and she's actually quite mobile. She moves around pretty well. And, you know, as an owner of a couple of dogs, my wife walks the neighborhood all the time. I think that having the stop signs is a good thing. I know we have people riding bikes. We have people that are just walking the neighborhood. And frankly, this is I know it's not a cut through neighborhood, but I also know that we ought to be driving at less than 25 miles an hour. So, and I'm not sure that people were doing that before the stop signs were up. So I'm not unhappy that we decided to go ahead and do that. I don't know what the procedure was. I don't know if we followed the procedure. I really don't care. They're up and I'm good with it. So I just wanted to go on record.
Thank you. Okay. Mrs. Mara?
Claire, that's
Claire.
right, yes.
That was the issue, the dog walkers, especially on East Shore, they were flying down East Shore and that slowed them up right there, Minnewawa East Shore, it did. Boats, trailers, campers should be gone by now. This is October. The ones that are not in compliance. I did have a couple complaints. People are afraid to fill out complaint forms because they don't want to complain against their neighbors. I have let our Chief Sue know, Chief Schofield. She wants to be put on the record that if anyone has any more complaints about the extra big trailers, campers, boats, either call Central Dispatch. She'd love to talk to you about it. You knock on the door, ring the doorbell. She's willing to discuss it with anybody, her process in getting a neighbor to be in compliance. So that is her gig. And she wanted me to get that on the record that she will take care of it. And she wants them on the record that she is an open door to discuss it when someone doesn't want to talk about their neighbor's big ugly camper. Okay. I had another phone call about Airbnbs. We don't have anything in our ordinances about Airbnbs. I don't see anything. So either way, there's nothing there. I had a neighbor say, do you understand there's a place right here on the beach that is, the rumor that they're going to be Airbnb in it. I don't know if that's true or not. It's rumored. So this neighbor called me in saying we should, of course she's against it. So this issue might come up again. We might have to look at it again, write some legislation about that. Next thing, voting. Don't forget to get out and vote. We do have a school levy. Please look at that school levy. It's a renewal, correct? It's a renewal. And so get out there and vote. It's people in other countries die to have their opportunity to vote. So let's get out there and vote. Early voting is on now. I've been asked about election integrity. I do work the polls, therefore people do ask me, what do I think? If you have any doubt, the Board of Elections is a very open, if you call, they have a lot of answers. They still need poll watchers, they still need poll workers. And if you want a good old fashioned paper ballot and pen and not vote on that machine, you can do that. You can do that. Because some people are very tech savvy. They go, well, you could take out and take that, what's it called, not a fire stick. The voter, it says, the thing that's connected to the Wi-Fi after, what's the word? You know the word. So,
Last ride.
no, okay. So you can do that. You could vote early now at the Board of Elections, or of course, we vote up at the Croatian Hall now. So please exercise your right to vote. And please, if you go to the Board of Elections too, online, you could see the ballot that you will have. So you could go as an informed voter. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Dr. Sharma? grants?
So I have been going over the grants, haven't unfortunately find anything that would be 100% funded. And that's all I have to report, but on a separate issue that I shared with you, do I have your permission?
Yes.
To share that here?
If you would like, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so a very unfortunate thing happened, and I have to read. This happened in Merced in California. 4 family members, including an 8-month-old baby, they were kidnapped at gunpoint from their business and later found dead. 8-month-old baby was just left to die by itself. And the four deceased people, 8-month-old baby, her name was Aruhi Terry, her mother, 27-year-old Jocelyn Kaur, who just came to this country, newly wedded woman, came here 2 years back. Her husband, Jasdeep Singh, 36 years old, and the baby's uncle, Amandeep Singh, 39 years old. Actually, today, he would have turned 40 years old. And I saw people coming together. This was like an American dream gone wrong. You know, many immigrants like me come to this country looking for a very positive future with the children. And I was extremely upset. Things happen, there's evil in the world, but just to leave an 8-year-old baby in like a forest, it didn't sit well with me. How the child passed away, maybe that was worse than the machete the person had used to kill other family members. So everybody around the country, they have been conducting vigils. This happened on October the 5th. And I was requesting the mayor, and he was kind enough to give me permission that on Friday, I saw the weather would hopefully be better than what we have today. And if I can request my community to come out for 10-15 minutes to have like a candlelight vigil right outside of this, you know, just to have a little prayer for the deceased members to rest in peace, and also to create that awareness, how we take things for granted, how we take security for granted. And somebody just to be at gunpoint, kidnapped from their business, and for this to happen, they are left with their old parents. They are in their 70s, the entire family wiped out. So would just like to request the community members, the residents of our village to come support me in this endeavor.
What time are you?
So I was thinking Friday, 6:30. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
With the date, would that be the
So Mayor, it's the Friday,
21st, isn't it?
21st?
yeah,
Okay,
the 21st at 6:30.
thank you, Doctor. Okay, Mr. Thompson, please.
Prior to this council session, we had a 10-minute tree committee meeting, and we discussed the giant maple that is out front by the trash that needs to be removed. We have multiple estimates submitted, and I believe we've come to a consensus on one that's going to work for us, so I'm going to go ahead and move on.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on, the fiscal officer report, Mr. Roskis.
Okay, our general fund ending balance through September 30th, 2022 is approximately $410,072. our month-to-date revenue was $51,033 versus expenditures of $41,893, a net positive of $9,141. General fund revenue through September 30th is up approximately $132,909 versus last year. And that's again primarily due to increased income tax collection, and also our property tax collection rates have improved somewhat. Revenues in September exceeded projections by approximately $9,179. Expenditures were $6,152 more than anticipated. And the increase in expenditures was mostly due to increases in payroll costs and associated withholding expenses, such as to the Ohio Public Employee Retirement System. Our estimated general fund surplus based on current expenditure rates and revenue will be at around $118,647 if council elects to transfer money to the Village Hall Capital, Police Cruiser Capital, and Service Truck Capital Fund of $20,000 each. We would be looking at a surplus of around $58,647. Other fund activity, no other significant expenditures in our other funds. There were $500 in refunds issued from 9901 Hall Rental Security Deposit Refund Fund. And also we received our quarterly reimbursement of $6,426 from the Lake County Department of Utilities via the county auditor's office. And this is for a reimbursement of sanitary sewer infrastructure fees, which is on the water bills. And part of this we use towards our OWDA debt payment, and a portion goes to maintenance of the sanitary sewers.
Okay, thank you. And I want to thank you, Mr. Roxas, for a job. Very, very, very well done.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, moving on, we have want to welcome Lieutenant Brown. He's filling in for Chief Schofield. So welcome, and he will give us the Chief's monthly report.
Good evening, everyone.
And she's watching, remember.
She's watching. No pressure, right? Thanks.
But you look good.
Thank you. So we had 3 911 calls. We had 1 accident. We had 1 administrative call. We had 2 alarm calls. We had 6 animal calls. We had 2 assist calls, 6 speech check calls, 1 civil matter call. We had 1 court case call. We had 74 community policing calls, which totaled 80 altogether. We had 1 disturbance call, 1 domestic violence call, 72 house checks. We had 1 info call and 10 investigation calls. We had 1 juvenile complaint call. We had 1 littering complaint call, 2 noise complaint calls, 5 patrols. We had 1 phone call come in. We had 1 parking violation. We had 1 property call. We had 1 call for Eastlake to assist them. We had 2 suspicious circumstance calls, 1 suspicious person call, 1 suspicious vehicle call. We had 1 traffic complaint and 1 vehicle check. We had a total of 201 calls for our police department.
Okay, thank you. Next is zoning property maintenance from Gary Gray. He wasn't able to attend, but he sent me over the permits that we that he written for the month. We had 1 siding permit, 1 garage sale permit, 1 sewer work permit, 3 fence permits, and 1 shed permit. And moving on to purchases and approvals. A motion to approve the September 2022 financial reports. Any questions or comments on that first? Okay, do I have a motion to approve, please?
We accept or approve the financial report.
Mr. Joyce makes a motion.
I second it.
Mr. Conrad seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Conrad.
Thank you. Next, I have a motion to approve work by the R&J Tree Service in the amount of $1,650.
I
Do
make-
we also need the
Yeah,
stump included in that?
I don't think so. I think the 1650 is for the tree service plus 325 for the stuff.
1975 then?
Excuse me?
Is it 1,975 then?
That's correct.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve work by R&J Tree Service in the amount of $1,975, please.
For the removal of.
For the removal of the
and
tree and the stump.
I so moved.
Well, Mr. Joyce makes a motion.
I second.
Mrs. Mara seconds. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Joyce, Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson, Mr. Conrad.
Okay, next moving on to public comment and questions on the topics that were discussed meeting. We have no one left in attendance, so therefore, anything else from anyone else? Before we
I would just like
close the
to
meeting?
say to Mr. Thompson, great job on finding a suitable vendor to take down that tree and for a very reasonable cost.
I appreciate that. I can't take all the credit though. I tried to call this gentleman and he didn't get back to me. So actually, Ms. Mara had him go out to give an estimate at their property and she was able to finagle him into getting us an estimate here. So she called me and said, hey, I got a hold of him and he is a great, it seems like he does a great job for a great price. So I do appreciate that, Ms. Mara.
No problem.
It seems that Mrs. Mara is our secret weapon. All we need to do is set her a light on something and it gets done.
Sure.
Okay,
Go get him.
if there's
Thank you.
nothing else. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Carr makes a motion. Dr. Sharma seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson, Mr. Conrad.
Okay, the 7:15 meeting adjourned, and our next regular meeting will be Tuesday, November 15th, 2022 at 6:30 PM. Thank you and have a good evening and see what the Guardians are doing.
And get out and vote.
5-1.
Top of the night. It's gonna take a
How are you?
miracle.
No problem. No problem.